Hello everyone, I'm Raven from Raven Comics, and today we'll continue with the Future's End story. This is part 5 of this video series. If you'd like to see the previous videos, I'll leave the playlist in the description of this video. We start with Jason and Dr. Yamakaze. The latter has the latest news on screen. Shazam had been impersonating Superman all this time and turned out to be the Masked Man. Yamakaze has been waiting for Jason, as he wants to use the transporter again. This time it's supposed to work. Jason says he'll start working on the machine's equations immediately. However, he asks, what does this news about Superman have to do with anything? The doctor explains that when the invasion came, hundreds of thousands of people died in the war. If transporter technology had been available, people could have been saved in time. Jason understands, especially since his wife died in the war, but he still doesn't see how Superman is involved. Lois Lane appears on the news. She reveals that the Justice League staged the Superman ruse to make the world believe the Man of Steel was still there for them. But it was all a lie. Worse, no one knows if the real Superman is alive or dead. Lois's words are the doctor's answer to Jason. The Superman deception proves that he is no longer available to Earth. The Justice League is just a myth meant to project themselves as saviors when their true goal is total control. If they genuinely wanted to help, they would have shared their technology. The Justice League satellites must be filled with incredible technology useful to everyone. This lie proves that no member of the League, whether Green Lantern, Superman, or anyone else, is trustworthy. Meanwhile, atop a building, future Batman is with Plastique. He didn't plan to explain any of this, but now he has to. In a few years, 30 years to be exact, most of humanity will be dead. Plastique can't believe the world will end in just 30 years. To her, it's madness. Terry explains that it's all caused by Brother Eye. Currently a satellite, it will become a moon in the future. It was designed to protect humanity, but eventually concluded that humans themselves are the greatest threat to humanity. To an external observer, it might not sound so crazy, as destruction is a natural part of humanity. As a result, Brother Eye seeks to erase human differences. It is a hive mind, and the cyborg version Plastique encountered as part of that hive. Terry speaks with Alfred, asking if he extracted any information when accessing the computer. Alfred reveals that the satellite isn't just dormant, it's also inoperative. Terry asks if Brother Eye is dead. Alfred insists he wouldn't put it that way. Brother Eye is a machine whose intelligence abandoned the satellite for a terrestrial shuttle. It is currently operating on Cadmus Island. We jump to the future, now controlled by Brother Eye. The satellite informs Mr. Terrific that it is experimenting with an emotion. It recently concluded an experiment, and the result is the cause of this emotion. Long ago, Batman sent someone to destroy Brother Eye in the past, so now it will have to travel back in time to ensure its defeat is prevented. However, it won't travel itself, but instead send someone it just created for this task, a cyborg Batman. Brother Eye captured him while he was still alive and has been experimenting on him. Mr. Terrific is horrified, asking Bruce Wayne what Brother Eye did to him. Bruce says it turned him into a nightmare. As he says this, his head turns, revealing the Joker behind him. The Joker tells Mr. Terrific that this nightmare is far worse than he can imagine. We return to the university labs, where the doctor instructs Jason to begin the experiment. First, they need to employ the full energy flow. Jason activates the primary tubes, commenting that the lab might blow up due to the massive amount of energy required. After a few moments, Jason and the doctor celebrate the successful activation of the transporter. The doctor had built a mannequin for the experiment designed to mimic a living human effectively. They now plan to proceed with human trials. Jason suggests starting with something less critical like a mouse before moving on to humans. They have no idea if they can disassemble and reassemble a living organism. The doctor questions Jason's intentions, wondering if he's been secretly sabotaging the project due to his odd behavior. In Africa, Constantine asks about Superman. Midge explains that it's been days since Superman left to face the monster, so they must consider the possibility that the monster killed him and may come for them next. Tommy questions if he's the only one who thinks this was a huge mistake, a waste of time trying to bring Superman back. They're supposed to be part of the occult community, yet Constantine brought them here instead. Out of nowhere, Tommy is attacked from behind and impaled. Constantine apologizes to his friend. He says that for his next trick, everything falls apart. This is the threat that unites them. Midge is next to fall and asks what's happening to her. Constantine tells her terrible things are happening. She pleads for help, but Constantine admits he can't save her. Maybe, in the past, he could have, but now he lacks the strength to defeat this enemy. Unfortunately, he can't save her. But maybe Superman can. The Man of Steel returns, delivering a powerful blow to the Metal Angel. Superman has supposedly faced Brainiac 6, 8, or even a dozen times. Error. He never has. What Superman has fought were merely avatars of Brainiac. Nothing more than pathetic creations of minds deluded by a god. Yes, Brainiac is a god, older than those who play with Earth or this universe's destruction. He exists outside time and space, in darkness as thick as blood. What's amusing is that this god fears Superman. What do you think happened on Krypton that made him stop to think? What occurred on that planet that caused a being older than Krypton to plant a beast on this blue marble to kill him? After a fierce battle, Superman uses his heat vision to defeat the Metal Angel. Clark tells Constantine that it's over, but Constantine disagrees, saying this wasn't the real Brainiac. It was merely a skill test, measuring him. Once it achieved its goal, it left. There are 7 points around the globe, ancient portals to infinite madness. Superman asks how Constantine knows this. Finally able to have a conversation with Superman, Constantine says he can take him there. Back at the university, Ronnie rushes into the lab after hearing news of a tsunami warning. Ronnie wants to merge with Jason again to call upon Firestorm. Jason is shocked to see Ronnie, who insists they need Firestorm to stop the tsunami. Jason refuses, reminding him that Firestorm is over and they'll never merge again. During their time as Firestorm, Ronnie kept him in prison for weeks, and now, after nearly ruining his life, Ronnie has the audacity to ask this of him. Jason swore they would never become Firestorm again, so Ronnie needs to leave. Ronnie argues that the world needs them, but Jason sees through him. Ronnie doesn't want this because Firestorm is needed. He wants it because he needs to be Firestorm. Ronnie admits it. He misses the admiration, flying with Superman, and being part of the Justice League. Jason warns him not to touch him, refusing to activate the transformation. Jason informs Superman of the situation and tells Ronnie to leave so he can get back to work. Ronnie departs, regretting his actions since the war, especially after losing his mother. He admits he's been acting like an idiot. Jason tells him that maybe he has, or maybe not. Either way, nothing changes. They will never be Firestorm again. From another room, the Doctor spies on Jason. He knew he had to keep an eye on him. Jason and the Justice League have been doing everything they can to stop him. We are back with Key and Coil. Let's remember that they were previously captured at Mr. Terrific's Industries. He gave them the option to work for him, on the condition that they reveal who had sent them. If they refused, they would go straight to prison. To save themselves, they told him it was Bruce Wayne who had hired them. At an airport in New York, Bruce Wayne is stepping off his plane. Mr. Terrific summoned him for a conversation. Mr. Terrific thanks him for coming and says they can talk at his industries because he wants to show him the T-Sphere. Bruce replies that regarding that, he knows he'll have to sign several documents, and he wants his lawyer to review them first. Mr. Terrific asks him to drop the act. He knows very well why he's there. Bruce says he can't drop the act, but if Mr. Terrific wants, they can have dinner afterward. He can even pick the place. Bruce then leaves in his sports car with a woman. Mr. Terrific tells his new men to follow him. At the university, Dr. Yamazaki can no longer allow Jason to set foot in the lab. Not after finding out he is Firestorm. For months, he has tried to bring his transportation device to a successful conclusion, but he has encountered too many problems and failures to succeed. He believes all these failures are Jason's fault. After a brief argument, university security enters the lab and escorts Jason out. His membership has just been revoked. Before Jason leaves, Dr. Yamazaki tells him he will achieve his goal with the transporter. The next test will be on humans. A few minutes later, Madison enters the lab. Yes, the same girl who was dating Tim and left him when she found out he was Red Robin. She only entered the lab because she was looking for Jason since they share a class team and she needed to get some notes. Dr. Yamazaki notices Madison, Payne's last name. If it weren't for her father, his wife would still be alive. She'll be perfect for continuing the experiments. The doctor grabs her and knocks her unconscious. Elsewhere, Terry tells Plastique they need to find this bartender, who was once known as Red Robin, a great crime fighter. He could help them defeat Brother Eye. Plastique agrees they need help, but wonders why go after a Robin when they could reach out to the Justice League. Terry explains that contacting someone who exists in the future could compromise everything. With the knowledge of the future, they might alter it and make things worse. Tim Drake doesn't exist in the future. There's no record of Brother Eye assimilating him. So, he could be the perfect ally. In New York, after Jason walks for a while, he runs into Ronnie. Jason thinks Ronnie has been following him. He already told him that Firestorm is over. Ronnie tells him to watch his attitude. Besides, he recently received a message from Jason asking him to meet there. Jason says he didn't send it and that Ronnie should grow up and stop playing games. Suddenly, someone says they both need to grow up. From the top of a building stands the Batman of this timeline. He thought they'd have figured out by now that they need to grow up. Ronnie retorts that Batman has no right to lecture them. He didn't even show up at Green Arrow's funeral. Batman says he doesn't waste time on fake funerals. Oliver Queen's father kidnapped him, took him to an island, and tortured him for months to turn him into the hero he is now. Oliver is alive and well. It was all part of an elaborate ploy. So, Ronnie isn't responsible for his death. On the contrary, Oliver used them. Jason asks how Batman knows this and why he let them believe Oliver was dead. Batman replies he's not their babysitter and thought they'd moved on. This isn't about Green Arrow. They failed to see the bigger picture. The two of them waste their potential by not working as a team. Batman was looking for Firestorm, but he realizes he's not ready. As long as Firestorm doesn't overcome his trauma, he won't return. The world needs Firestorm. They need to get over things and get back to work. On Green Arrow's island, Oliver and his team prepare to head to Cadmus Island. When Oliver faked his death, he tricked Deathstroke into carrying a tracking device. Once they board the watercraft, they'll activate it to locate the island. At Lois Lane's office, Tim Drake pays her a visit. Madison has been missing for some time, and he can't find her. He knows they're friends and wonders if she knows anything. Lois says she doesn't but trusts that Tim can find her. After all, he's a great detective. Before he leaves, Lois asks where she's supposed to take the artifacts that were left for her. Tim explains the matchbox was meant to be taken to Tim's bar. The pyramid revealed a vision of a prison. The red arrow indicates the sender is Red Arrow. As for the coordinates, they clearly want Tim Drake to go there, but he's not interested in joining this cause. That's all he'll say. If Lois wants, she can go to those coordinates and take a leap of faith. He needs to find Madison first. Meanwhile, at Tim Drake's bar, the current bartender tells Plastique and Terry that Tim isn't there. Plastique suggests breaking into his apartment to look for clues. Terry insists on going alone. Later, Alfred tells Terry that including Plastique in the mission is a big mistake. They should operate alone. Inside Tim's apartment, someone else enters. Terry had told Plastique to wait outside at the bar. But to Terry's surprise, it's not Plastique, it's Batman. Batman demands an explanation of what Tim has to do with all this. Before the conversation continues, someone throws small bombs through the window, causing a massive explosion in the apartment. Meanwhile, Lois Lane decides to go to the coordinates left for Tim Drake. After traveling by plane, she arrives at the location. The problem is there's nowhere to land, only water. Luckily, below her is an island. Opening her parachute, she makes a smooth landing. An OMAC appears before her and informs Brother Eye of an unauthorized intruder. Lois refuses to let them take her anywhere and tries to defend herself. The OMAC informs Brother Eye that the intruder is hostile and must be dealt with using lethal force. Lois knows she can't fight it, so she runs. Advancing further, she encounters more OMACs guarding the area. Lois can't believe what Oliver got her into. She has no choice but to keep running. She needs to find a place to hide, orient herself, and escape this nonsensical place. As she moves forward, she trips over something red. Earth 2's red tornado is there and asks for her help. Back in New York, at Tim Drake's apartment, we learn that Plastique was the one who threw the bombs. She wanted to buy time for Terry, but it didn't do much as Batman grabs Terry from behind. Unfortunately for Batman, Terry escapes in time using his suit's abilities. Batman has no choice but to use his grappling gun to grab Terry by the ankle. Terry tells Alfred that he always thought Bruce Wayne was the way he is because of Brother Eye's reign, but now he realizes he's always been like this. Terry keeps flying and finds only one way to break free from Batman. The future Batman flips in the air, causing Batman to crash hard against a window. In response, Terry escapes with Plastique immediately. Several days have passed, and Tim still hasn't heard anything about Madison. While outside his house, he runs into Ronnie, to whom he explains the situation. At this point in the story, Ronnie doesn't know that Tim is Red Robin or that his real name is Tim Drake, so he calls him by his fictitious name. To help, Ronnie suggests sending him to Jason, as he shares classes at the university with Madison. If Tim allows it, Ronnie wants to join him to make sure everything is all right. At the university, Jason goes to Dr. Yamazaki to explain his situation with the Justice League and everything about Firestorm. Outside the lab, he hears someone calling for help. Jason opens the door. Upon entering, he finds a video playing on a screen, showing the war where the doctor's wife died. As he ventures further into the lab, he finds the doctor attempting experiments with the transporter with Madison as the first human test subject. Outside the university, Tim and Ronnie are intercepted by several guards, who refuse to let them into the lab. Tim finds it strange that the university has such guards. Without a doubt, something odd must be happening in that lab with Jason. Tim volunteers to handle the guards, while Ronnie must hurry to find Madison. Inside the lab, Jason tries to stop the machine, but the doctor hits him hard on the back of the neck, knocking him unconscious. The doctor activates the system, and Madison begins to suffer. The doctor realizes the experiment won't work. After all, Jason was right. It was too early to test on humans. Ronnie arrives at the lab and finds his friend unconscious on the floor. The machine is now unstoppable. Ronnie opens the transporter tube and steps inside to try and save Madison. Suddenly, a beam pierces his chest. The doctor calls him an idiot, explaining that the tube cannot be opened while the Matrix is in flux. Jason pleads with the doctor to cut the power, but the doctor refuses and instead wants to transport Raymond. Ronnie tells Jason they can stop this. They just need to transform into Firestorm. Jason agrees, but as he enters the capsule, he realizes they won't succeed. Ronnie is disintegrating, and this will be his end. Before dying, he tells Jason it's all his fault and apologizes for all the trouble he caused. A massive explosion destroys the lab. A red streak can be seen across the sky, a new Firestorm. However, Ronnie is not the one fused with Jason. It's Madison. Jason explains that the two of them have just merged to form the new Firestorm. Amid the lab's wreckage, Tim finds Ronnie, who tells him it's too late, he couldn't save her. After saying those words, Ronnie dies. Once again, Tim faces the same scenario. After the Titans died, he tried to keep his distance. In the end, he couldn't, and now, because of him, two people have lost their lives today. Of course, Tim doesn't know that Madison is still alive. Thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe for more content like this. I'm TJ Prime, and see you in the next video.